It's the later days, Papi, the later days. We're still sober. I'm hoping. As we're getting into this and spawning in the top right-hand corner of our Kione, we have the Polish Zerg player, the blue Zerg representing Team Liquid. It is Elazer. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the red Terran representing the CranKy Ducklings. It is Dolan. Here we go. Catching up in the chat. Oh, the copy past this. True. I'm very impressed by this Cero guy. He might be the underdog for now, but if he keeps practicing, I can see him doing really well in the future. True, true. Maybe after his military service. Maybe that's when he can really pop off. Aye. Just catching up. Dudes from Texas. I take SC2 very seriously down there. Aye. True. They've got a lot of players. For now, we do have our Hatch Gas Pool standard opener. I should keep an eye on the openers as well from even players like Elazer. I know Elazer, he's known for his macro play, but Hatch Gas Pool here from Elazer. Dolan going for a Rax Expand. This is not the Beyond 2 Rax opener with 2 Rax Reaper on the low ground. This is a Rax into CC into Factory instead. This is the special opener. Not many players go for this. We have seen Beyond dabble with this build here and there every now and then. We've seen Gumiho have his own variation as well. So it's not exclusive to special, but special did kind of originate this opener, and every now and then a couple of players do experiment with it as well. Just a way to wall off here on the low ground to, in a way, be a little bit greedy as well. We do go Marine first. We're going to be shutting down this first Overlord, ideally shutting it down as we do start a step forward. Looking for that kill. Second Marine is on the way. I'll go here to try to be a nuisance early on and supply block Elazer. And this Overlord, oh, can it make it to the pillar? Up! It's so close. The pillar, it's right there. And it looks like the Overlord will make it in the end. Aye. Dolan not quite getting on top of that Overlord. But this will keep Elazer in the dark. Elazer, he's not fully aware of what's happening here on the low ground. Not aware of the opener actually, so for all Elazer knows, it could be 2 Rax Marine here, which is something that Fuchsia does quite often. Instead of 2 Rax Reaper, 2 Rax Marine is a much more greedy build, but yeah, Elazer for now is stuck with a bit of incomplete information. As that Factory is on the way. Behind this, going for a 3cc, so a very economic opener out of Dolan, going 3cc before Starport. Any tournaments today? Nothing live, which is why we have a little bit of freedom here to go over some replays from HomeStory Cup. That's why we're covering the HomeStory Cup replays. Otherwise, if there was something live going on, we'd probably be casting it. We'd probably be involved in some way. For those wondering, Wednesdays is usually the night for Kung Fu Cup. Usually Kung Fu Cup is on Wednesdays, but because of DreamHack Atlanta over the weekend, there's no WTL this week, which means there's no Kung Fu Cup this week. Otherwise, we would actually be live with Kung Fu Cup right now. I think it's postponed to next week. After DreamHack Atlanta. For those that are curious. For now, we're just getting that CC up and running. Likewise, we have Elazer going to be joining up back at home. With this opener as well, even though it's 3cc into a starport, there is no add-on swap because the starport is most likely going to be in the main base. So we start up much faster stim. So a much more aggressive style here from Dolan. Much faster stim. Here goes double Hellion into double Cyclone. Okay, this is a bit of a marauding force that can shut down Overlords as well as a Queen here or there. There's a lot of potential with this push. I mean, ideally we want to try to catch some of these Overlords, but so far they're all kept safe and sound, and Dolan isn't quite able to catch any of them yet. Elazer, he does spot that Cyclone though, so he's making a wave of Lings. Going to be cutting workers a little bit early on here at 45, just making sure that he's safe and secure. So he's respecting this quite a lot. Yeah, just amassing Lings, basically anticipating a dive. If Dolan ever does dive, Elazer has plenty to get on top of him, to surround him, to shut him down. So Dolan has to be very careful with this army, because Elazer did cut workers to allow for this Ling force to be present. Alien's going to be poking here on the creep. Elazer again and getting ready for any kind of movement here from Dolan. Behind this, we're getting into our follow-up here. We have additional Raxes. Interesting. Okay, this is not 3cc. Oh my god! This is, I mean, technically 3cc before starport. Yes, it was a 3cc 211 straight into 5 Raxes. Okay, before the starport. So this means that, again, the Marine Army isn't really going to be active anytime soon. We're building up an early tank as well. So we are heavily relying here on these Hellions and Cyclones to be active on the map, to provide for some map control while Dolan builds up his Marine forces instead. We'll soon be taking his 3rd base, don't get me wrong, but yeah, won't be active anytime soon, just because of how heavily this starport was delayed. And this starport was delayed. On top of that, there's no add-on swap for like reactor medevacs that we would usually see. Like typically we see a reactor on the factory, then we add-on swap and we have the reactor to pump out medevacs. But because of the earlier tank production, again, delayed medevacs. So yeah, very unique style here from Dolan. Again, it is far less active. It's a lot more, in a way, turtly. We're basically building up a death bowl of an army here with much earlier tank production and eventually into all these Marines as well. This push is going to be pretty terrifying. I'm curious if this is going to lead into an 8 Rax. I'm very curious if we're going to 8 Rax from here. Speaking of, as 5 Raxes done, that's 3 more Raxes on the way. We are indeed 8 Raxing. That does make a lot of sense here with this build. Basically, what an 8 Rax is a 3 base all in. This is assuming that we don't take this extra gas geyser at the 3rd, and we don't get a 2nd factory. If we do take another gas geyser, then this can lead towards additional factory production and into a 4th CC, into a 4th base. So we'll see. We'll see if Dolan commits here with the 8 Rax or if he does transition. Meanwhile, Elazer back at home, he's droning. He went for a Roach Warren earlier on, so he's got Ling Roach. He's been building up quite an army here. I was assuming it was just to be defensive early on, and it is. But with these Ravagers on the way, Elazer can soon be active himself. We're working towards delayed Evo Chambers, delayed 1-1. So the upgrades are less than ideal. We already have 2-2 on the way for Dolan, so Dolan will be up in upgrades. Elazer makes up for that with Ravagers here to help deal with tanks. Like, specifically against this army composition of Dolan, Ravagers aren't too bad. They can bow down tanks quite nicely as we dip in and dip out. Hellbats are on the way. Ooh, Dolan is now pushing with his first wave of medevacs, but again, we have Roach Ravagers to deal with this. We cannot push in. The scan does reveal the army, and I don't think Dolan intends to commit. We're picking off tumors and then backing the hell off. Oh, 1 tumor lives. 1 tumor does survive. We do bleed out one of those Hellbats. And again, Dolan, he's on the retreat. He knows he cannot fight this. And Elazer, he's done waiting. He's drawn up to 88, and he's focusing on Ling, Roach, Ravager. Bailing speed on the way. Bailing speed has been delayed, but again, because of the Roaches. And Dolan has to take a defensive position. But again, his tank count is looking solid. How many tanks? We have 4 tanks here in total on the high ground. Again, still no extra gases, still no 4th base. 8 Raxes fully operational here. And Dolan, he's just going to be building up his army, maxing out, and then just sending it across the map. He can hit a strong time with 2-2, basically. 2-2 is going to be a big power spike for Dolan. And hopefully nothing goes awry before those upgrades kick in. Dolan is going to be poking out onto creep. Clearing up some of these tumors here. Just trying to vie for map control. Again, he doesn't really want to commit. He doesn't really want to go toe-to-toe with this army. Again, Elazer, he's fully saturated on 4 bases, getting a 5th, getting the gold. Hive is on the way. We just commenced 2-2, and here comes the push. Again, 2-2 still on the horizon for Dolan. Files will not be connecting. It's going to be a slow push here from Dolan. Again, thankfully, because of these Ravagers, we can force a siege early. We can slow this army down, try to force these sieges. Bailings are going to be rolling in. Up! A late reaction. Massive connections there. Bailings, they do crash into some of those Marines. Files connect as well. Ugh, not the best fight from Dolan. Again, it did look like he was caught off guard once the army pushed forward. We're down to 3 tanks. But again, Dolan, he is all in with this. He's committed. And he's got a lot of creep to work through. Another tank gets biled. See, every time Elazer pushes in, we bile down a tank. We're down to 2. And yeah, that's significantly weakening this push. A 3rd tank does arrive. And we see Elazer getting ready for a surround from every single angle. The rocks were knocked down earlier. We get a surround. One of the tanks on siege, and we will clean this up. Elazer swallowing up the army, swallowing up the tanks. even fighting off of creep, but there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to run. We connect. We crash into the bio army. And Dolan, he almost has nothing left. The tank count was reset. The Marines, they took the Veilings to the face. And Elazer, he doesn't have to turn around. He can commit. He can keep pushing. There's one tank left over. And again, the Biles, they will deal with it. And we will be able to crash into the third base. The boys are being pulled. Dolan making his final stand here. But the writing is on the wall. Economic damage is being done. Again, this was a 3-way solo, but we barely have an economy to lose. It's 12 more SCVs go down. From here, Dolan just trying to pick up whatever he can here with his last remaining units. He has reinforcements on the way. He could maybe try to hold on. He's getting some of the Ravagers even. Oh my god. Is getting on some of these Ravagers, but he lost 15 SCVs in the process. Ay, ay, ay. And he will clean this up. He's on the mules. True. I almost forgot. We do have mules available. True, Bobby. True. From here, we could try to pull a Maru and try to lift up the main base and take the gold, for example. If you remember, we during GSL, Maru also failed with an 8 racks and kept it going for quite some time against Scarlet by lifting up his main, taking the gold. Similar story here. That's a lot of meta. Oh my god! I just realized how many we have. Oh my god, we have 1 medevac for each, for basically a pair of Marines. 12 medevacs here, going for a double drop here on the right hand side. Gonna try to find some economic damage. There's a world where if we can somehow pull a Elazer apart with drop play, maybe we can come back. Again, as we mentioned, there is potential here to try to sneak out some of these other bases, but Elazer's in position. He sees everything. He has eyes on every single would-be 4th base, including the gold. So again, good map control here, good map vision from Elazer. Second army is pushing out. We have a second wave. And fun fact, Dolan, he has a comparable army size. But the quality of the army, that's what's different here. Big power bomb on the medevacs. Vipers pushing forward. Big blinding clouds on top of the tanks as well. And we swallow up the army for a second time. We've tied up the upgrades. We have 3-3 on the way. There was potential with the second wave, but alas, Elazer this time has Vipers. And this time can be that much more active here, that much more proactive when it comes to cleaning up this army. He will force this back. Again, getting on top of what little is left. GG gets called, and Elazer will take game number 1. GG. Oh, and yeah, Elazer having a much more defensive style here against Dolan, specifically when it comes to opening up Roach. Opening up Roach is typically like a very safe way to play in ZvT, and it worked wonders for him. He was able to just have his way with the push when it eventually did move out across the map. Elazer may have had delayed bailing speed, but again, he didn't really need it for that first attack anyway. And that was just really committed there from Dolan. Unfortunately, the first wave was a little bit lackluster. If you remember, it did look like Dolan was maybe looking at his production or looking elsewhere when Elazer first engaged in the center of the map, and that's when we saw like some pretty big bailing connections. Like Dolan just was not set up to fight off of creep. Even though he was off of creep, maybe he was not expecting Elazer to be so proactive and to dive then and there. And after that first fight, I think it was in that first fight as well where Dolan lost 2 tanks. He started with 4, and I think he lost 2 tanks in that first engagement. And from that moment, that's just too much momentum lost. Like, when you're going for these 8 racks, when you're going for these 3-base all-ins as a Terran player, like, every unit counts. Every unit, like, matters that much more because you are all-in, because there's no next step. And these fights, like, they need your attention. They need to be meticulously controlled. Otherwise, you know, it could all crumble around you. And GG. GG, well played. Elazer does handle that very well. Again, really safe play, did pay off against Dolan, and I think that's a wise choice. Again, Dolan, he has a reputation of being aggressive, and yeah, Elazer, he handled himself well there, as he does take a lead in the series, and we're going to be getting into game numero 2. We are getting there. Oh, hello, Thunder. Hello. ¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo estás? As game 2 is going to be taking place on Hecate. Let's go. Let us go. And in the top right-hand corner of Hecate, we have the American Terran player, the Red Terran, representing the CranKy Ducklings down to the series, looking to fight back. It is Dolan. And spawning in the bottom left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Polish Zerg player, the Blue Zerg, representing Team Liquid. It is Elazer. We go. Dolan looking to go for a similar opener here, going for the racks on the low ground. If you remember last game, we saw Dolan go for the quote-unquote special opener, going for the racks into CC, into factory here on the low ground instead. Looking like a setup for a very similar opener once again. Meanwhile, Elazer going for hatch first. Do crazy, hatch, gas pool should be the opener here from our Zerg player. And we'll see what kind of direction Dolan will take this in. Again, Dolan, he is not afraid to go for something like mech. We have seen mech before, and especially in the rise of, the Cyclone meta, we have seen that in the past. Dolan! Where are we going? I did see Dolan have a look here on the left-hand side of the map. I was very curious as to what this would be. And this is looking like a proxy factory. This is looking like a double factory, one base all in. I'm curious here. I'm very curious. There's also the option for a proxy factory alongside a proxy starport for a drop into the main. That's also a possibility. We'll see if a second factory gets thrown down back at home. Now, this double factory build is something that Dolan has used to great success. Did actually use it in the DreamHack regionals, in the ESL Masters Winter Regionals. And there it is. Yeah, double factory. Let's go. The Dolan build, Poppy. The Dolan build. Dolan did debut this in ESL Masters Winter, the Americas Regionals. I think this was it against Nina or Trigger? It was against Trigger. He beat Trigger with this. I think it was on Oceanborn in TVP. I've only seen Dolan do this against Protoss, so I'm interested to see how he does this against Zerg. Very interested. As we do have our reactor on the way, we should be going for an add-on swap. Now, there's two different ways to go about this. This could be Mass Hellion with the Armory for a Hellbat all-in, or we could go double factory Cyclone. Both are available here for like Hellion Cyclone. So I'm curious if we're going for the Hellbat variation or the Cyclone variation. As reactors are on the way. Meanwhile, Elazer back at home. He's just getting towards his third base. Going to be droning up. None the wiser. He sees the opener, and now he sees the lack of CC. He's aware. He's aware that something is wrong, something is amiss, and we are going for the Cyclone variation here. So no Armory, no Hellbats, just two factory, mass Cyclone, one base all in. Let's go. Let us go. And again, we've seen this work against Protoss. I'm curious to see how this works against Zerg. Cyclones have a lot of firepower, but Elazer, because he's scouted, he sees lack of expansion, Spinecrawler immediately. Elazer, he now is aware a one base all-in is coming. He's not fully aware what is coming, but knows that something is awry, and we're bringing forward the queens. We have 3 queens for now, a 4th and 5th queen on the way. Link speed as well, amassing lings. Lings, queens, and Spinecrawlers, that is exactly what we need here to defend. Dolan has to be very careful with how he engages. Cyclones have arrived. Boys have been pulled to help repair, and to help buffer as well. We take down one of the overlords. Elazer is supply blocked. A queen will fall as well. Good pick off so far here by Dolan. Oof. Does get the queen. Is going to be threatening that spine as well. Ay. As it looks like the Lings are going to be diving on top of the Cyclones. They get on top of the SCVs as well. There is no repair. They repair each other. And the Lings, they break through. They force back the army. Spinecrawler is done. The Queens are going to be able to transfuse just barely each other. I'm hoping. There we go. Do transfuse. Elazer is holding onto his natural for now, but that Cyclone count is getting higher and higher. We are up to 8 Cyclones. But the Lings, they close it as they get on top of the Cyclones as well. They get another 2. Big pickoffs. 2 Cyclones go down. And good target firing. Another Cyclone falls, and we're losing too much momentum. Elazer, he is holding. And remember, Dolan is completely all in. The Lings, they're going for a counterattack. It looks like they're looking for the proxy. They're looking to try to shut down these factories, and they will eventually come across it. Again, a good awareness here from Elazer. He catches two of these Cyclones, camping the factory as well. And this is just going awry for Dolan. And GG gets called. Elazer, he shuts it down, and he will take the series 2-0. GG. GG, well played. A solid defender from Malaysia. Really good scout of the natural base to recognize that something was wrong. And a big shout out to Dolan as well. Again, I've seen this work against Protoss. Remember, who else did this? Was it Ryung? I think it was Ryung versus Max Pax during WTL who also whipped this out. And again, we have seen the snowball out of control against Protoss players. Against Zerg, the problem with doing this against Zerg is the Ling, right? The problem is that Locons are powerful, but if the Locons are wasted on Lings, and if you have enough of them, and if you're able to have good enough creep spread to dive on those Cyclones, like, it's really difficult to gain momentum. It's not as powerful against Zerg because of that reason, because of how the dynamic between the Ling and the Cyclone works. They do a great job at just tanking those shots, tanking those Locons, and closing the distance. Then you have, of course, the Queens to support, and yeah, the Spine Crawler came into play as well. So yeah, just really good crisis management out of Elazer. On top of all that, just really good of him to actually scout and confirm that there was no natural base. I can definitely see a Zerg player like having for that being like an oversight for like your standard Zerg player, to just like miss that and not check to see if there's expansion. That was the trigger point there for Elazer to recognize what was happening and prepare. So really good reactions from Elazer. Does shut it down. My condolences to Dolan, but I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the build of choice there, and unfortunately not having as much success as we've seen in the past, but I appreciate it nonetheless. GG. GG, well played. And with that, we are getting ready for our next series here. We're getting ready for our third match of the night, featuring other players in this group that we have yet to cover. It is going to be Harston versus Fiant. Let's go. I'm here for it. I'm ready for it, Papi. Let's go.